Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books here at the live studios in Radha Lane, just down the pathway from Sri Sri Radha Nrsimha-deva's beautiful temple. We're sitting here with a group of eager Vaishnava hearers, Rasika devotees, who love to hear. I know that because they're coming regularly. You can't come regularly unless you're eager to hear. So, welcome to all of you out there in cyberspace. We're moving quite in a good pace through the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and we've reached the prayers of Prahlada to Lord Nrsimha-deva, which we're coming up to some really ecstatic prayers. We're eager to get there. But before we do, let's dutifully, regularly hear the prayer compiled by Srila Sanatana Goswami, glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam, in which is very deep Sanskrit text prayer that gives the qualities of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, helps us to go deeper into what we're hearing and why. Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram by Srila Sanatana Goswami, and it goes like this: Sarva Shastram Dipiyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Shravya Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwan Doditaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Shri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshaksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who is supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madhika Bando Matsangin Madguru Man Mahadana Man Nistadaga Madbhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadhu sadhu tadayin hatini chochata kada hanamuncha gadachin mam premnarit gantayaspuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we've reached text 40 of the 9th chapter of the 7th canto. Prahlada pacifies Lord Nrsimha-deva with prayers. My dear Lord, O infallible one, my position is like that of a person who has many wives, always trying to attract him in their own way. For example, the tongue is attracted to palatable dishes, the genitals to sex with an attractive woman, and the sense of touch to contact with soft things. The belly, although filled, still wants to eat more, and the ear, not attempting to hear about you, is generally attracted to cinema songs. The sense of smell is attracted to yet another side. The restless eyes are attracted to scenes of sense gratification, and the active senses are attracted elsewhere. In this way, I am certainly embarrassed. Purport. The human form of life is meant for God realization. But this process, which begins with Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, hearing and chanting of the holy name of the Lord, is disturbed as long as our senses are materially attracted. Therefore, devotional service means purifying the senses. In the conditioned state, our senses are covered by material sense gratification, and as long as one is not trained in purifying the senses, one cannot become a devotee. In our Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, we advise from the very beginning that one restrict the activities of the senses, especially the tongue, which is described by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur as most greedy and unconquerable. To stop this attraction of the tongue, one is authoritatively advised not to accept meat or similar uneatable things, nor to allow the tongue to hanker to drink or smoke. Even the drinking of tea or coffee is not permitted. Similarly, the genitals must be restricted from illicit sex. Without such restraint of the senses, one cannot make advancement in Krishna consciousness. The only method for controlling the senses is to chant and hear the holy name of the Lord. Otherwise, one will always be disturbed, as a householder with more than one wife would be disturbed by them for sense gratification. Text 41. My dear Lord, you are always transcendentally situated on the other river of death. But because of the reactions of our own activities, we are suffering on this side. Indeed, we have fallen into this river and are repeatedly suffering the pains of birth and death and eating horrible things. Now kindly look upon us, not only upon me, but also upon all others who are suffering, and by your causeless mercy and compassion, deliver us and maintain us. Purport. Prahlada Maharaj, a pure Vaishnava, prays to the Lord not only for himself, but for all other suffering living entities. There are two classes of Vaishnavas, the Bhajananandis and the Goshtyanandis. The Bhajananandis worship the Lord only for their own personal benefit, but the Goshtyanandis try to elevate others to Krishna consciousness, and so that they might be saved. Fools who cannot perceive repeated birth and death and the other miseries of materialistic life cannot be sure of what will happen to them in their next birth. Indeed, these foolish, materially contaminated rascals have manufactured an irresponsible way of life that does not consider the next life. They do not know that according to one's own activities, one receives a body selected from 8,400,000 species. These rascals have been described in Bhagavad Gita as Duskritino Mudha. Duskritino Mudha. Non-devotees, those who are not Krishna conscious, must engage in sinful activities, and therefore they are mudhas, fools and rascals. They are such fools that they do not know what will happen to them in their next life. Although they see varieties of living creatures eating abominable things, pigs eating stool, crocodiles eating all kinds of flesh, and so on, they do not realize that they themselves, because of their practice of eating all kinds of nonsense in this life, will be destined to eat the most abominable things in their next life. A Vaishnava is always afraid of such an abominable life, and to free himself from such horrible conditions, he engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord. The Lord is compassionate to them, and therefore he appears for their benefit. Yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhutanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijam yaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Bhagavad Gita 4:7. The Lord is always ready to help the fallen souls, and because they are fools and rascals, they do not take to Krishna consciousness and abide by the instructions of Krishna. Therefore, although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is personally the Supreme Lord Krishna, he comes as a devotee to preach the Krishna consciousness movement. Yarideka Tarikaha Krishna Upadesh. One must therefore become a sincere servant of Krishna. Amara Agyaya Guru Haya Tare Desh. Madhya Lila 7, 128. One should become a guru and spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, simply by preaching the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Text 42. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, original spiritual master of the entire world, what is the difficulty for you who manage the affairs of the universe in delivering the fallen souls engaged in your devotional service? You are the friend of all suffering humanity, and for great personalities it is necessary to show mercy to the foolish. Therefore I think that you will show your causeless mercy to persons like us who engage in your devotional service. Purport. Here the words Priya Janan Anusevatamna indicate that the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is very favorable to devotees who act according to the instructions of his own pure devotee. In other words, one must become the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. If one wants to become the servant of the Lord directly, this is not as fruitful as engaging in the service of the Lord's servant. This is the direction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who shows us the way to become Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayur Das Anadas Anadas. One should not be proud of becoming directly the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather, one must seek a pure devotee, a servant of the Lord, and engage oneself in the service of such a servant. The more one becomes the servant of the servant, the more one becomes perfect in devotional service. This is also the injunction of Bhagavad Gita. Evam parampara praptam imam raja shayo viduhu. One can understand the science of the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by the parampara system. In this regard, Srila Narottam Das Thakur says, Tandira Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas. Let me serve the lotus feet of the devotees of the Lord, and let me live with devotees. Janami Janami Hoya E Abhilash. Following Narottam Das Thakur, one should aspire to be a servant of the Lord's servant, life after life. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also sings, Tumita Thakura Tomara Kukura Baliya Jana Hamore. O my Lord, O Vaishnava, please consider me your dog. One must become the dog of a Vaishnava, a pure devotee, for a pure devotee can deliver Krishna without difficulty. Krishna se tomara, Krishna dite para. Krishna is the property of his pure devotee, and if we take shelter of a pure devotee, he can deliver Krishna very easily. Prahlada wants to engage in the service of a devotee, and he therefore prays to Krishna, My dear Lord, kindly give me the shelter of your very dear devotee, so that I may engage in his service, and you may then be pleased. Madbhakta Pujab Jadika. Bhagavatam 11:19-21. The Lord says, engaging in the service of my devotee is better than trying to engage in my devotional service. Another significant point in this verse is that by devotional service, Prahlada Maharaj does not want to benefit alone. Rather, he prays to the Lord that all of us fallen souls in this material world may, by the grace of the Lord, engage in the service of his servant and thus be delivered. The grace of the Lord is not at all difficult for the Lord to bestow, and thus Prahlada Maharaj wants to save the whole world by spreading Krishna consciousness. Text 43. O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence, for wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and your activities. My concern is only for these fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them. Purport. Throughout the entire world, everyone is making big plans to adjust the miseries of the material world. And this is true at present, in the past, and in the future. Nonetheless, although they make elaborate political, social, and cultural plans, they have all been described herein as vimudha, fools. The material world has been described in Bhagavad Gita as dukhalayam, ashashvatam, temporary and miserable. But these fools are trying to turn the material world into sukhayalam, a place of happiness, not knowing how everything acts by the arrangement of material nature, which works in her own way. Prakriti kriyamanane gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by nature. Bhagavad Gita 3:27. There is a plan for material nature, personally known as Durga, to punish the demons. Although the asuras, the godless demons, struggle for existence, they are directly attacked by the goddess Durga, who is well equipped with 10 hands, with different types of weapons to punish them. She is carried by her lion carrier, or the modes of passion and ignorance. Everyone struggles very hard to fight through the modes of passion and ignorance and conquer material nature. But in the end, everyone is vanquished by nature's laws. There is a river known as Vaitarani between the material and spiritual worlds, and one must cross this river to reach the other side, or the spiritual world. This is an extremely difficult task. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 7:14, Daivi yesha gunamayi mamamaya duratyaya. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. The same word, duratyaya, meaning very difficult, is used here. Therefore, one cannot surpass the stringent laws of material nature except by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Nonetheless, although all materialists are baffled in their plans, they try again and again to become happy in this material world. Therefore, they have been described as vimudha, first-class fools. As for Prahlada Maharaj, he was not at all unhappy, for although he was in the material world, he was full of Krishna consciousness. Those who are Krishna conscious, trying to serve the Lord, are not unhappy, whereas one who has no assets in Krishna consciousness and is struggling for existence is not only foolish, but extremely unhappy also. Prahlada Maharaj was happy and unhappy simultaneously. He felt happiness and transcendental bliss because of his being Krishna conscious, yet he felt great unhappiness for the fools and rascals who make elaborate plans to be happy in this material world. Text 44. My dear Lord Nrsimha-deva, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance. Not caring for the big cities and towns, they go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, monavrat. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. Purport. This is the decision of a Vaishnava, the pure devotee of the Lord. For himself, he has no problems, even if he has to stay in this material world, because his only business is to remain in Krishna consciousness. The Krishna consciousness person can even go to hell and still be happy. Therefore, Prahlada Maharaj says, Naivodvijay para duratyaya vaitaranyaha. O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. The pure devotee is never unhappy in any condition of life. This is confirmed in Nrsimha-deva 6:17-28. Narayana padak sarve nakutaschana bibyati sarva pavargam narakyarshu abitulyarta darshinaha. Devotees solely engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. For a devotee being situated in the heavenly planets and being in the hellish planets are equal. For a devotee lives neither in heaven nor in hell, but with Krishna in the spiritual world. The secret of success for the devotee is not understood by the karmis and jnanis. Karmis therefore try to be happy by material adjustment, and jnanis want to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme. The devotee has no such interest. He is not interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest. Rather, his interest is in the busiest part of the world, where he teaches people in Krishna consciousness. The Krishna consciousness movement was started for this purpose. We do not teach one to meditate in a secluded place just so that one may show that he has become very much advanced and may be proud of his so-called transcendental meditation, although he engages in all sorts of foolish, materialistic activity. A Vaishnava like Prahlada Maharaj is not interested in such a bluff of spiritual advancement. Rather, he is interested in enlightening people in Krishna consciousness, because that is the only way for them to become happy. Prahlada Maharaj says clearly, Nanyam tvad asya sharanam brahmato nupashye. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. One wanders within the universe, life after life, but by the grace of a devotee, a servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can get the clue to Krishna consciousness, and then not only become happy in this world, but also return home, back to Godhead. That is the real target in life. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement are not at all interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest, where one will only make a show of meditation, nor are they interested in opening many schools for yoga and meditation in the cities. Rather, every member of the Krishna consciousness movement is interested in going door to door to try to convince people about the teachings of Bhagavad Gita as it is. Srila Prabhupada's book distribution, Ki Jai. Rather, every member of the Krishna consciousness movement is interested in going door to door to convince people about the teachings of Bhagavad Gita as it is, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That is the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna, one cannot be happy. Thus, the Krishna conscious person avoids all kinds of pseudo-spiritualists, transcendentalists, meditators, monists, philosophers, and philanthropists. Well, that pretty much covers the gamut. Text 45. Sex is compared to the rubbing of two hands to relieve an itch. Grihamedis, so-called grihastas who have no spiritual knowledge, think that this itching is the greatest platform of happiness, although actually it is a source of distress. The kripanas, the fools who are just the opposite of brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated sensuous enjoyment. Those who are dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate this itching, are not subjected to the sufferings of fools and rascals. Purport. Materialists think that sexual indulgence, this is a 5-year-old speaking. Materialists, of course he had his hand put on, Lord Shingade's hand put on his head, so he knows everything now, even though he's only 5 years old. Materialists think that sex indulgence is the greatest happiness in this material world, and therefore they make elaborate plans to satisfy their senses, especially the genitals. This is generally found everywhere, and specifically found in the Western world, where there are regular arrangements to satisfy sex life in different ways. Actually, however, this has not made anyone happy. Even the hippies, who have given up all the materialistic comforts of their fathers and grandfathers, cannot give the sensational happiness of sex life. Such persons are described here as kripanas, misers. The human form of life is a great asset, for in this life one can fulfill the goal of existence. Unfortunately, however, because of a lack of education and culture, people are victimized by the false happiness of sex life. Prahlada Maharaj therefore advises one not to be misled by this civilization of sense gratification, and especially not by sex life. Rather, one should be sober, avoid sense gratification, and be Krishna conscious. The lusty person who is compared to a foolish miser never gets happiness by sense gratification. The influence of material nature is very difficult to surpass, but as stated by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 7:14, Maveya ye prapadyante mayam etam tadantite. If one voluntarily submits to the lotus feet of Krishna, he can be saved very easily. In reference to the low-grade happiness of sex life, Yamunacharya says in this connection, Yad avidi mama chetak Krishna padartha vinde nava nava rasadaman yudyatam rantumasi tad avidi badanari sangame samyamarmane bhavidi mukhavikara sushnishtivanam cha. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in Him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought, and my lips curl with distaste. Yamunacharya had formerly been a great king who enjoyed sexual happiness in various ways, but since he later engaged himself in the service of the Lord, he enjoyed spiritual bliss and hated to think of sex life. If sexual thoughts came to him, he would spit with disgust. Text 46. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are 10 prescribed methods on the path to liberation. To remain silent, not to speak to anyone, to observe vows, to amass all kinds of Vedic knowledge, to undergo austerities, to study the Vedas and other Vedic literatures, to execute the duties of Varnashram Dharma, to explain the Shastras, to stay in a solitary place, to chant mantras silently, and to be absorbed in trance. These different methods for liberation are generally only a professional practice and means of livelihood for those who have not conquered their senses. Because such persons are falsely proud, these procedures may not be successful. Purport. As stated in Srimad-Bhagavatam, Kechit 6.1.15, Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayanaha agam dunvanti kartsnyena niharam iva bhaskaraha. Only a rare person who has adopted complete, unalloyed devotional service to Krishna can uproot the weeds of sinful actions with no possibility that they will revive. He can do this simply by discharging devotional service, just as the sun can immediately dissipate fog by its rays. The real purpose of human life is to attain liberation from material entanglement. Such liberation may be achieved by many methods: tapasa, brahmacharyena, shamena cha, damena cha. But all of them more or less depend on tapasya, austerity, which begins with celibacy. Shukadeva Goswami says that those who are Vasudeva Parayana, who have fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord, Vasudeva, Krishna, automatically achieve the results of mauna, silence, vrata, vows, and other such methods simply by discharging devotional service. In other words, these methods are not so powerful. If one takes to devotional service, all of them are very easily performed. Mauna, for example, does not mean that one should just stop speaking. The tongue is meant for speaking, although sometimes to make a big show, a person remains silent. There are many who observe silence for some day in a week. Vaishnavas, however, do not observe such silence. Silence means not speaking foolishly. Speakers at assemblies, conferences, and meetings generally speak foolishly like toads. This is described by Srila Rupa Goswami as Vacho Vegam. One who wants to say something can show himself to be a big orator, but rather than go on speaking nonsense, better to remain silent. This method of silence, therefore, is recommended for persons very attached to speaking nonsense. One who is not a devotee must speak nonsensically because he does not have the power to speak about the glories of the Lord, of Krishna. Thus, whatever he says is influenced by the illusory energy and is compared to the croaking of a frog. One who speaks about the glories of the Lord, however, has no need to be silent. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends Kirtani Yak Sada Hari. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 1731. One should go on chanting the glories of the Lord 24 hours a day. There is no question of becoming mauna, or silent. The 10 processes for liberation or improvement on the path of liberation are not meant for the devotees. Kevalaya bhaktya. If one simply engages in devotional service to the Lord, all 10 methods of liberation are automatically observed. Prahlada Maharaj's proposal is that such processes may be recommended for the ajitendriya, those who cannot conquer their senses. Devotees, however, have already conquered their senses. Sarvopadi vinir muktam tat padat vena nirmalam. A devotee is already freed from material contamination. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur therefore says, Dushtamana tumi kisera Vaishnava pratishtari tare niranjara gari tava harinama kevala kaitava. There are many who like to chant the Hare Krishna mantra in a silent, solitary place, but if one is not interested in preaching, talking constantly to the non-devotees, the influence of the modes of nature is very difficult to surpass. Therefore, unless one is extremely advanced in Krishna consciousness, one should not imitate Haridas Thakur, who had no other business than chanting the holy name always, 24 hours a day. Prahlada Maharaj does not condemn such a process. He accepts it, But without active service to the Lord, simply by such methods, one generally cannot attain liberation. One cannot attain liberation simply by false pride. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Text 47. By authorized Vedic knowledge, one can see that the forms of cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for the cosmic manifestation is His energy. Both cause and effect are nothing but energies of the Lord. Therefore, O my Lord, just as a wise man, by considering cause and effect, can see how fire pervades wood, those engaged in devotional service understand how you are both the cause and effect. Purport. As described in the previous verse, many so-called students of spiritual understanding follow the 10 methods known as Mauna Vrata Shrutta Tapo Jayana Swadharma Vyakhya Raho Japasamadaya Srimad-Bhagavatam 7.9.46. These may be very attractive, but by following such methods, one cannot actually understand the real cause and effect and the original cause of everything. Janmad Yasya Yataha. The original source of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The original source of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, Sarva Karanam. This original source of everything is Krishna, the Supreme Ruler, Ishvara, Parama, Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha. He has His eternal spiritual form. Indeed, He is the root of everything, Bijam, Mam, Sarvabhutanam. Whatever manifestations exist, their cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This cannot be understood by so-called silence or by any other hodgepodge method. The Supreme Cause can be understood only by devotional service. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati. Elsewhere in Nrsimha-deva 11.14.21, the Supreme Godhead personally says, Bhaktya Ham Ekaya Graya. One can understand the original cause of all causes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service, not by show bottle exhibitionism. Text 48. O Supreme Lord, You are actually the air, the earth, fire, sky, and water. You are the objects of sense perception, the life airs, the 5 senses, the mind, consciousness, and false ego. Indeed, you are everything, subtle and gross. The material elements and anything expressed either by the words or by the mind are nothing but you. Purport. This is the all-pervasive conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which explains how He spreads everywhere and anywhere. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Everything is Brahman, the Supreme Brahman, Krishna. Nothing exists without Him. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9.4, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat abhyaktamurtina matstani sarvabhutani nachaham teshavastitaha. I exist everywhere, and everything exists in me, yet I am not visible everywhere. The Lord can be visible only through devotional service. Yatra gayanti mad bhakta tatra tishtami narada. The Supreme Lord stays only where His devotees chant His glories. Text 49. Neither the three modes of material nature, Sattva-guna, Rajaguna, and Tamaguna, nor the predominating deities controlling these three modes, nor the five gross elements, nor the mind, nor the demigods, nor the human beings can understand your lordship, for they are all subjected to birth and annihilation. Considering this, the spiritually advanced have taken to devotional service. Such wise men hardly bother with Vedic study. Instead, they engage themselves in practical devotional service. Purport. As stated in several places, Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati. Only by devotional service can the Supreme Lord be understood. The intelligent person, the devotee, does not bother much about the practices mentioned in text 46, Mauna, Vrata, Shruta, Tapo, Dhyana, Swadharma. After understanding the Supreme Lord through devotional service, such devotees are no longer interested in studies of the Vedas. Indeed, this is confirmed in the Vedas also. The Vedas say, Kim artha vayam adhyeshyamahe kim artha vayam bhakshamahe. Vakshamahe. What is the use of studying so many Vedic literatures? What is the use of explaining them in different ways? Vayam bhakshamahe. No one needs to study any more Vedic literatures, nor does anyone need to describe them by philosophical speculation. Bhagavad Gita 5:252 also says, Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati tada dantasik niridam shotavyasya shutasya cha. When one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead by executing devotional service and ceases to practice the studying the Vedic literature. Elsewhere it is said, Aradito. Let's read that again. When one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead by executing devotional service, one ceases the practice of studying the Vedic literature. Everywhere it is said, Aradito yadi hadis tapasa tata kim. If one can Narada Pancharata, Aradito yadi hadis tapasa tata kim. If one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in his service, there is no need of severe penances and so on. However, if after performing severe austerities and penances, one does not understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such practices are useless. Text 50. Therefore, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, the best of all persons to whom prayers are offered, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, because without rendering 6 kinds of devotional service unto you, offering prayers, dedicating all the results of your activities, worshipping you, working on your behalf, always remembering your lotus feet, and hearing about your glories, who can achieve that which is meant for the Paramahamsas? Purport. The Vedas enjoin Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo Namedaya Na Bahuna Shutena. One cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply by studying the Vedas and offering prayers. Only by the grace of the Supreme Lord can one understand Him. The process of understanding the Lord, therefore, is bhakti. Without bhakti, simply following the Vedic injunctions to understand the absolute truth will not be helpful at all. The process of bhakti is understood by the Paramahamsa, who has accepted the essence of everything. The results of bhakti are reserved for such a Paramahamsa, and this stage cannot be obtained by any Vedic process other than devotional service. Other processes such as jnana and yoga can be successful only when mixed with bhakti. When we speak of jnana yoga, karma yoga, and jnana yoga, The word yoga indicates bhakti. Bhakti yoga, or buddhi yoga, executed with intelligence and full knowledge, is the only successful method for going back home, back to Godhead. If one wants to be liberated from the pangs of material existence, he should take to devotional service for quick attainment of this goal. Text 51. The great Saint Narada said, thus Lord Nrsimha-deva was pacified by the devotee Prahlada Maharaj with prayers offered from the transcendental platform. The Lord gave up his anger, and being very kind to Prahlada, who was offering prostrated obeisances, he spoke as follows. Purport. The word nirguna is important. The Mayavadi philosophers accept the absolute truth as nirguna or nirakara. The word nirguna refers to one who possesses no material qualities. The Lord, being full of spiritual qualities, gave up all his anger and spoke to Prahlada. Okay, we'll go on. Text 52. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Prahlada, most gentle one, best of the family of Asuras, all good fortune unto you. I am very much pleased with you. It is my pastime to fulfill the desires of all living beings, and therefore you may ask from me any benediction that you desire to be fulfilled. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Bhakta Vatsala, the Supreme Personality who is very much affectionate to his devotees. It is not very extraordinary that the Lord offered his devotee all benedictions. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, in effect, I fulfill the desires of everyone. Since you are my devotee, whatever you want for yourself will naturally be given. But if you pray for anyone else, that prayer also will be fulfilled. Thus, if we approach the Supreme Lord or his devotee, or if we are blessed by a devotee, naturally we will automatically achieve the benedictions of the Supreme Lord. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that if one pleases the Vaishnava spiritual master, all of one's desires will be fulfilled. Text 53. My dear Prahlada, may you live a long time. One cannot appreciate or understand me without pleasing me, but one who has seen or pleased me has nothing more for which to lament for his own satisfaction. Purport. One cannot be happy under any circumstances unless one pleases the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But one who has learned how to please the Supreme Lord need no longer lament for his material condition. Text 54. My dear Prahlada, you are very fortunate. Please know from me that those who are very wise and highly elevated try to please me in all different modes of mellows, for I am the only person who can fulfill all the desires of everyone. Purport. The words dhira, sarva bhavana, do not mean in whichever way you like. Bhava is the preliminary condition of love of Godhead. Atasaktishthato bhavas, tatak prema dujanchati, sadhakanan ayam premna, pradur bhave bhavet kramaha. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.4.16. The bhava stage is the final division before one reaches love of Godhead. The word sarva bhava means that one can love the Supreme Personality of Godhead in different transcendental modes or of mellows, beginning with dasya, sakya, vatsalya, and madhurya. In the Shanta stage, one is on the border of loving service to the Lord. Pure love of Godhead begins from Dasya and develops to Sakya Vatsalya and then Madhurya. Still, any one of these 5 mellows can render loving service to the Supreme Lord. Since our main business is to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can render service from any of the above-mentioned platforms of love. Text 55. Narada Muni said, Prahlada Maharaj was the best person in the family of Asuras, who always aspire for material happiness. Nonetheless, although allured by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who offered him all benedictions for material happiness, because of his unalloyed Krishna consciousness, he did not want to take any material benefit for sense gratification. Purport. Pure devotees like Prahlada Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj do not aspire for any material benefit at any stage of devotional service. When the Lord was present before Dhruva Maharaj, Dhruva did not want to take any material benefit from the Lord. Swamin kritartosmi vadam niyache. As a pure devotee, he could not ask the Lord for any material benefit. In this regard, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed us, Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundarim, Kavitam va Jagadisha Kamaye, Mama Janmani, Janmanishware, Babatad Bhaktir Rahaituki Twayi. O my Lord Jagadish, I do not pray for benedictions by which to achieve material wealth, popularity, or beauty. My only desire is to serve you. Kindly engage me in the service of the servant of your servant. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 7th canto, 9th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled Prahlada Pacifies Lord Nrsimha-deva with prayers. What more can one say after that? Hare Krishna. Okay. Open mic time. It's nice not to be in the hot seat all the time. Spread the heat around. Yes, Sarva.
In that quite a famous verse where Prahlada Maharaj says that he doesn't want to go to a solitary place for his own deliverance, but wants to help the fallen souls. He's kind of saying that either you go in solitude for your own, benefit, or you. He's not mentioning like the bhajan and nandis. So I wondered if you could comment on. Sometimes they do solitary sadhana and so forth, but they kind of pray for the world.
Well, that's true. What he is doing, he is actually not approving of the bhajananandis. But that doesn't mean that bhajananandis are to be condemned, because a Bhajananandi who was actually engaged in devotional, like Haridas Thakur. But Haridas Thakur used to go out door to door with Lord Nityananda. We always hear how he was chanting 300,000 names. That's 192 rounds a day. Just digest that. 192 rounds a day, every day, without fail. But still, he would sometimes go out with Lord Nityananda door to door. Of course, it doesn't say how long he did every day. I mean, to do all that may be humanly impossible. But I know Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati talks like this, Srila Prabhupada talked like this. I think that it can be understood not as kind of like a black and white either or, one is bad and one is good. It's a matter of good, better, and best. You know, in the spiritual world, there's this concept of good, better, and best. Or perfect, more perfect, and most perfect. You know, Dwarka is always described to be perfect, and Mathura is more perfect, and Vrindavan is most perfect. So it's kind of like that. If a person's a genuine Bhajananandi and is actually absorbed in Krishna consciousness and worshipping the Lord in love and devotion, even if he doesn't go out into the public and risk his whatever Krishna consciousness to preach like Prabhupada did and others in his that he followed in their footsteps, then the person is not to be condemned, but it's better, Prahlada Maharaj is saying. Like Vasudeva. And the other thing is, the point you're kind of touching is that if a person is in that mood and is, what is the Bhagavad Gita verse 13, chapter 13, verse 8 to 12, there's a list of what is knowledge, and one of them is to resort to remove oneself from the masses of people. How does that go? There's a particular way that Prabhupada says that in the 13th chapter. So this is knowledge, it's not ignorance necessarily. But if one is going away just to make a show and is actually engaging in sense gratification, on the plea detachment from the general mass of people. That's one of the objects of knowledge, one of the items of knowledge. So it's not that that's ignorant, but if one is doing that just to make a show and just to look like people, that he's advanced so that people will come to him and honor him or, throw money at him or whatever, then that is not approved. That is cheating. That's like drinking water while underwater, taking a bath on a fast day. You're doing nirjal, but you go underwater to take in the bath in the river, and then you're going, nobody can see you. So the Bhajananandi the genuine Bhajananandi is not like that. The genuine Bhajananandi is worshipping Lord, and it even describes the stage of Paramahansa. The stages of sannyas, are Kutichak, Bahudak, Paribrajikacharya, and ultimately Paramahansa. There's another word for Paramahansa, I just can't remember it offhand, Sanskrit word. So, at first, to get accustomed, they move outside the village, and the family members bring the food, and they just there and read, and get accustomed to being away from the family, and then they stop getting things from the family, and they pick up grains in the field, or go door to door and beg, or whatever, to maintain themselves. And eventually, then when they become a little advanced, then they travel and they preach, and they try to elevate as many people as possible in Krishna consciousness. And those persons who generally do that have a mission, some kind of mission or another, and then they have disciples and followers, and at the end they generally stay in one place. Prabhupada was an exception, so was Bhaktisiddhanta, and so was Bhaktivinoda Thakur. All three of them were exceptional. They kept going right practically to the very end. But Bhaktisiddhanta had that that word, that a little bit of a doubt in his mind, because within a very short time his spiritual master and his father, who was also his spiritual master, Shiksha Guru, they both left the world. And his Diksha Guru was Gorakishore Das Babaji, and he was Paramahansa all the way. He was a Bhajananandi. He never went out and preached. But he was very advanced. He could see things in the Dham, what was going on in one spot. And he would, sit and pray, for the deliverance of the world. Haridas Thakur did the same thing. He would do his rounds and he would pray for the deliverance of the world. That was his pure devotional service. That was his preaching, part of his preaching. So then Bhaktisiddhanta, when his father left, who was a Goshtinandi all the way, and he was the father of this movement, he started to organize the Vaishnavas and defeat the illusionists and all those things right from the beginning. By the time he appeared, India had become a hotbed of Sahajism and all kinds of apasampradayas and cheating people who were not very nice. And of course he trained Bhaktisiddhanta. But then it was him who insisted that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's son take initiation from Gorkhadas Babaji. Gorkhadas Babaji didn't have any disciples. He had not one disciple. So he went and approached him, and he said, "No, I don't think so." The idea was that Bhaktivinoda Thakur had was because Bhaktisiddhanta was known to be the greatest scholar of his time. So Gorkha Das Babaji, before he became a Paramahansa, before he took up renounced life, he was a grain merchant, and he was illiterate. He couldn't even sign his name. Many people in India are like that. They can't sign their name. They put their thumbprint on their documents. Even in banks sometimes. I don't know if it's like that anymore, but it used to be. They'd come in, they'd put their fingerprints. So he was like that. So Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur thought, you go and take initiation from him and surrender to him, because thinking, you won't be proud as a great scholar, Anyway, there's a long story behind that, and then he asked, and he said no, and then the next time he asked, he said, I'll ask Mahaprabhu. And then he came back later and said, what did he say? I forgot to ask him. And then he came back again and he said, what did he say? He said no. So then Bhaktisiddhanta, he got up on the bridge in between Navadvip and Mayapur, and he said, I'm jumping off, that's it, this is too much. And then when Gorkha Das Babaji saw that, he said, okay. And then he had an initiation, and he gave him his initiation. Varshabhana Vidayita. And anyway, so in our line on the picture on the altars of our disciplic succession, down to our founder Acharya, we don't put anyone else after that. Otherwise, you'd have to build a temple for them, because in 100 years you'd have 1,000, 2,000 pictures. You have to have a temple just for the pictures. So we just go down to our founder Acharya, and it just goes to them. So on that altar, there's Prabhupada, there's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there's Gorkha Das Babaji Maharaj, there's Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and then there's Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, who was also like Gorkha Das Babaji, complete Paramahansa, renunciate Babaji. He didn't go out of the Dham at all, ever. Constant meditation on Krishna. So you can't, if you condemn someone who's actually a Bhajananandi, then you'll be in deep trouble. But at the same time, if you want to be in Prabhupada's line, then you should be Goshnanandi. You should live in these cities and preach according to your capacity. We can't do things that outside of our capacity, otherwise we'll look foolish. According to our capacity. Does that say something? There's something. Nothing. Yes, Bhakti Layla. Is it Layla?
Yes.
Okay.
It's spelled Layla, but it's Lila.
There's a goddess, Layla. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, there's a Layla, something about... Anyway, I don't remember, but there's some famous person in history.
I know there's a story about Layla and Manjun, but I'm not
Something
sure.
like that. Go ahead.
I had a question. I was wondering if you could offer some insight into this. I'm on page 550, chapter 9, text 42. The line is, "O my Lord, O Vaishnava, please consider me your dog. One must become the dog of a Vaishnava, a pure devotee, for a pure devotee can deliver Krishna without difficulty." Could you please
We'll try.
elaborate?
What is the good quality of a dog?
Loyalty, pureness,
Loyalty to his
pureness
master.
of heart.
Well, we don't know about purity
Oh,
of
sure,
heart.
okay.
I mean, they run around do all kinds of dirty things, you know. But it's loyalty to their master. That's what it means.
Yes.
The dog is loyal to the master. There's recently one big guy died. Oh yeah, ex-President Bush. And he had dog that was with him for a long, long time. Even when he was kind of disabled, he would be there to take care of him. And he sat there by the casket, you know, and he just sat there and mourned. And everybody watched as the dog was mourning for its master. So it's like that. It's poetic. It's a poetic expression. You know, we wear these. What do these mean? I mean, the Tulsi beads, and they bring us close to Tulsi Devi, who is very dear to Krishna and purifies us. But it also means our dog collar. It is our dog collar. We belong to our spiritual master. And if we have that mentality, not in the terms of, you know, sitting there in the table and going, and then and then when the person turns the plate, you go, you know, eat the food right off of the plate. It doesn't mean like that kind of dog,
Right.
you know, but it means it's poetic. It means let me be loyal to you, Gurudev. Does that answer it or not?
Yes. It's not a dog as in anything to put one beneath. It's
like a pet.
It's
like,
a simple right. It's
a poetic quality that we should have for our, you know, in the relationship with our spiritual master. We should be loyal, trustworthy, surrendered.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
I appreciated that purport as well, those points that was put in. About serving the servant of the servant and being the, you know, Janame Janame Hoy Abhilash. I mean, it just, for me, it sounds like that's just Prabhupada used to quote Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purport to Vyavasayatmika Buddhir Ekeha Kurunandana, how the single one-pointed attention of the intelligence is to carry out the spiritual master's order.
Mm.
And that purport made me think of that, and how there's so much in our philosophy, there's so much in our movement we could focus on, but as a disciple, we ought to focus on following our spiritual master's orders, the vows we make, 16 rounds, 4 regs, and also carrying out their mission.
Hare Krishna. Haribo. See you. Tell Tamal we missed him.
Yeah, just clarifying more and more, confirming our purpose in life.
Yes. Yes. Prahlada Maharaj, the personification of all those qualities put together. something from the...
Yes, Rati left a question. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. I have a question. Tonight we have heard Srila Prabhupada say that every devotee in Krishna consciousness movement is interested in door-to-door. For me personally, it has been years ago that I went door-to-door, but I do dream about it at times in my mind. Would you please elaborate about how to go door-to-door, what to say, or how to approach this?
It's real. I mean, it's direct. It's also literal, but it also means it's figurative. You go door to door, you go person to person, you go place to place. Wherever you go, whoever you meet, you try to explain them Krishna consciousness. Of course, Rati's saying this, but she already does it, regularly. She just gave me all kinds of details of what she did over the last weekend or something. She went to a place and preached and had Harinam and got a whole bunch of people together and talked about Krishna consciousness. She's like becoming a regular. Tamal Krishna Maharaj would be very proud of her, actually, in her preaching activities. That's what it means. It means to want to help others, want to go out and help others. And some people are more capable of doing that. Some people are more capable of doing other things. But the principle is to reach out and to help others. Some people may write, some people may manage, some people may cook, some people may clean. Devotees do all kinds of services, and they're all in the Krishna consciousness movement, especially under Prabhupada's branch of Lord Chaitanya's movement, spreading throughout the world. This branch, this tree is spreading throughout the world. All the activities that we do are actually connected to the preaching, if they're done in the proper mentality. If you're cooking out of love for Krishna and to make it so nice that whoever tastes it will want to not to leave, or the devotee is cleaning so well, so nicely that whoever comes in and looks around and says, "Oh, this is so nice, fragrant and clean. I don't want to leave this place." I remember when I first walked into the temple, I just went, I didn't want to go. It was amazing. It was amazing. But Srila Prabhupada did, it's a fact, emphasize that everyone should, according to his capacity, try to preach. Try to explain who Krishna is. Try to explain the satisfaction that we're feeling being in Krishna consciousness.
At the end, she kind of asked for tips about what you used to say, maybe, or something to say at the door.
Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur, they gave the way. You just open the door, you fall down flat, like a log, roll around in the dust, and look up at the person and say, "Please chant Hare Krishna."
Very effective. And that one.
And if you can't do that, then do whatever you can that emulates that mood. I'm not one, I never was one, and I can't be a mantra sayer when I go out and preach. I said different things to each person according to who they were and what the situation was. The tip is to be fully Krishna conscious, to be praying to Lord Nityananda constantly while you're going out on Sankirtan. Keep chanting. When you go open the door, pray to Lord Nityananda before you start to talk. Please give this person some intelligence. Help him. Give him some intelligence. Take this book. Get him to take the book. Get him to take the invitation or whatever you have that to get them to come to the temple, see the deity, etc., etc., etc. I don't have that, but my best friend does. You can get onto Fan the Spark and read that, and Vaisheshika will give you so many hints you won't be able to digest it all. Maharaj,
thinking instead of going to give the Sunday peace lecture, I think I'll just stay here.
You got the idea. That's what I've been doing now for about a year.
However, if you finish this session, you're invited to come and hear.
We're just finishing now, so they can come and hear your class.
At least to hear some of it.
That's why we have 4:30 program that ends at 6.
The road looks so beautiful. The carpet, the effulgent devotees, the sadhus. It's just very.
Hey, thanks, Maharaj, for the encouragement. We won't forget it forever, ever. That was good. Okay, taking the cue from Mother Maharaj and begging forgiveness from Rati Manjari if I didn't give her any mantras or tips on what to say to people, except for the proper mentality. That's who I am. Take it or leave it. Okay, thank you so much. Prahlada Maharaj, the wonderful prayers to Lord Nrsimha-deva. And now we're going to hear how Lord Nrsimha-deva tries to give him a benediction, and how Prahlada Maharaj says, no, I don't. And then back and forth until finally he asked for the farthest out benediction you could imagine. Okay, I probably gave it away already. Everybody knows what he did. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol, Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Prahlada Maharaj ki jai, Lord Nrsimha-deva ki jai. See you tomorrow at 6:30 Central Time, USA, for more of the same. Drops of nectar, wear a stone.